Hello, my name is Dr. Maya Byfield. My business is the Phenomenal STEMist. I'm so excited to be here in Orange County because it's where I live. I live in Apopka, Florida. And I decided to make this business because I saw a need for underrepresented students to be successful in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, math. And the best way I can do that is just provide products for parents to prepare them, whether it's a book or online STEM camps or just video podcasting. My goal is to transform this community, especially those who are underrepresented. And the way to do that is to help parents understand their children's minds and basically develop them at different stages of their lives to be prepared for a successful STEM career. Thank you so much. That's why I'm here.
All right, all right, all right. Hey everyone, it's the phenomenal STEMist. Glad to see some people on. I see some people on and on Facebook. I don't know if there's others on LinkedIn and welcome Twitter. I think this is the first time I'll be on Twitter. Uh so Stacy, you're on Twitter today. So you're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Welcome to the audiences of those different platforms. I decided in honor of Stacey Bury to wear. I'm following her footsteps, and well, these are not real though. See, let the record show that my eyes are still well. My eyes are still well, but I love Dr. Red Glasses very much. She's one of the mentors of mine, so I decided to wear the blue glasses and make sure I look,
I like it. I like it, Maya.
appreciate. I just want to thank you all for coming. Just to do a little bit of homework first, just to remind you, Phenomenal STEMist, the book is available on Amazon right now. Please remember to subscribe. I'm like two people away from having 200 subscribers. I'm trying to get to 1,000, but I start slow with 200. Then I want to get to 250. Then I want to get to 500, and so on. So remember, like and subscribe. Even though you're watching from different platforms, please like and subscribe on YouTube. On YouTube, please, please, please. Thank you so much. And if you have any children that are interested in phenomenal STEM camps throughout the year, feel free to meet me at www.phenomenalstemist.com. Okay, the homework is over. The homework is over. I just want to introduce to you a very good friend of mine. This is Stacy Bury. Stacy Bury. Stacy received her associate's degree from Miami-Dade College. I love to when people actually mention that, m- those of you who have higher levels of education and you use community college to get into that process, please, please remember us in the junior college era, because many of you uh, are made successful by that era. So thank you for mentioning that. Associate's degree from Miami Dade College. She was focusing heavily on chemistry at the time, and then she transitioned to Northern Caribbean University in Jamaica, West Indies, where she received her bachelor's degree in nursing. And she practiced. She's a board certified, or that's what we call it, certified nurse, registered nurse.
Registered, yeah.
Yeah, registered nurse, and she moved on from nursing, and she did some education at the University of Phoenix, where she received her master's in business administration. Stacy, you're going to tell me a little bit about yourself, but once again, thank you so much for agreeing to be on Phenomenal STEMist.
Maya, Dr. Byfield, first of all, I have so much admiration for you. As you know, we have this mutual mentorship going on here. And I
Okay,
think what
okay.
you're doing for young adults and for those who are pursuing their profession, those who probably didn't have someone to drive them before who's actually interested in them, that really speaks to me. I have a lot of admiration for that, admiration for your viewers, the stuff that you do, the pics that you share when you run into one of your former students doing great things.
Shout out to you,
So yeah,
friend.
I'm honored to be here.
Thank you, thank you. And in honor of Stacy's, as I said before, I'm wearing these blue glasses. Mutual respect here. Okay, so you are a physician informaticist, or your career is in physician informatics.
Mhm.
Tell me, when did you fall in love with your discipline? And I'm just talking about in general, from nursing all the way to what you do now.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, as you heard, my route was not a standard route. I'll tell you right now, I did not get an all expense paid scholarship to a university with no expenses. Um, frankly, coming from the neighborhood, especially that I came from, some may know, but I was in Miami and went to Norland Elementary School and went to Norland Junior High for a little while before I was migrated because my mom had got married and was back in Jamaica and the islands. So for a period of time, I was kind of back and forth. So when I got done with a little bit of high school in Miami, a little bit of high school in Jamaica, when I came back, I thought, okay, my mom and I had talked about it. I was like, okay, I'm going to do pre med and I'm going to start at Miami Dade so I can get my credits and, extra stuff that I need. And from there, move into a state university, something like that. Um, and as I was matriculating through Miami Dade, and I'll tell you, I had wonderful professors. There are things that I learned in the sciences in that community college that have stuck with me to this day. Um, and so as I was matriculating, I was like, wait, this is not really what I want to do. I think, you kind of come to an awareness of what your parents suggest, what other people suggest, what your friends are doing. And I was like, I started researching, like, what do I didn't want to end up in a profession that I wasn't passionate about. I just didn't have that desire. So I started really, and I'm a woman of faith, so I was praying on it, and I was really looking into it and heard more about the science of nursing, caring for the human frame, the human, it's the whole package, mind, body, spirit. And I thought, wow, there is a science to this. I really want to learn more about it. So a lot of times I'll have friends who are like, ooh, I can't stand blood. Ooh, I can't stand body fluids. But really, and you know what? I tease you a lot about your PhD in all these, alphabets. I mess with Maya, but it, we so appreciate our science community because it's really taking everybody. It's really taking a village to find the breakthroughs and the next best things for patient safety and patient care. So long and short, Dr. Byfield, is that I realized that I did want to do nursing, and I felt I had a pull for that, and to really do it both from a spiritual sense of wholeness, of a patient becoming whole and being able to return to their family, at least in optimal functioning, and also from science. I had a passion. I wanted to learn about the labs. What did the labs show on my patient? How do we adjust, their intake to improve labs? And how about, again, labs, their blood count? What can we do? Their radiology results? How do we put the whole picture together so that we can help this patient return to equilibrium? So that's really where my passion came from for the nursing profession. And I really did put some prayer to it because I thought, oh my goodness, now I've spent like 2 years. I'm graduating with an associate. But what do I really want to do? And I really believe
Mhm.
that the Lord led me to this profession. I love the fact that when I researched the profession, it wasn't just about Jamaican nurses or English nurses, nurses from England, or how to make quick money. It also showed that within the profession, there were these different arms that you could explore, and move into. If you liked OR surgical nursing, eventually you could become a CRNA, a nurse anesthesiologist. If you liked OB, eventually you could become a nurse midwife. If you like the inpatient acute care setting, or the pediatric or the office practice setting, you could become a nurse practitioner. So I like that there were other angles in nursing, that you could actually have challenge and growth in that profession.
Wow, wow, wow. I got in trouble with one of my friends when I said nursing is not in STEM. So you said something that's powerful, and you said there's a science to nursing, and you fell in love with it when you were transitioning, I'm hearing, for your decision about what you would do with your life at the community college level, and you took it to prayer, as I always talk about in my book, God first. God first. I think that a lot of success in my life came from me depending on someone higher than myself. So you used your faith and your experience in spirituality to help guide you in the process. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, I like that. I like that. So what tools did you use to discipline yourself to succeed? Now, don't get it twisted. Uh, Nurses have a lot of courses to take, a lot of science courses to take, and they can be very challenging. A lot of clinical courses to take. What did you use to discipline yourself to be successful?
Yeah, it was a very cognitive decision, because I had to now sit down and think, how am I going to survive? And I knew, um, because I had started 2 years in college, and now I felt like I'm stepping back to get to a bachelor's. I had to be very realistic, um, and it took a lot of cognitive thought, because now I'm thinking, okay, I've got to figure out how I'm going to survive for the next 4 years, because I know clinicals gets intense. And then if I want to go into my bachelor's, am I going to be working? Am I going to be, what am I going to do? I'll say that the discipline of work is very important, in learning good work ethics, um, and good attitude, so that you can be looked at for longevity, right? So why am I going here? Back in Miami-Dade, I heard about a lab assistant position. I wasn't even interested in the money. Now, the little pay I was getting definitely was helping, but I wanted to get that exposure, um, to the sciences, to the frames. How are they storing these lab rats and these specimens, and what's the chemicals behind it? What's why formaldehyde? When you cut, an animal open, which of the animals have a better formed circulatory system or pulmonary system. All of that gave me the discipline um, to want to work, or to, at least, if I wasn't working in some, there were some periods I wasn't working while going to school, but if not, then to have that discipline to focus on the content, and be able to visualize what I needed to be able to be successful. It was important to me not to fail one course. So, being that I stepped back to move forward, it was important to me that I don't waste my time, my parents' time, nobody's money,
Nobody's money.
and get going, because in my mind, I considered that I had now launched 2 years later. They have discovered that late bloomers actually are a lot more successful and responsible.
Mm-hmm.
because of life experiences. So I would say that the discipline of working, definitely the the focus of having a goal. And I began to be very big on setting my 5 year, 4 to 5 year goals. I needed to know like the time couldn't just fly by and I'm sitting here studying and whatever. I needed to know, what am I moving towards? What's my goal in that fourth or fifth year? And my goal was to get up out of here with my degree in 4 years, and nobody was keeping me longer than 4 years. I did extra credits. Um, I
Love
told
it.
my parents, my family, I was like, listen, y'all, you all will not be seeing me on a lot of holidays. You probably see me 2 weeks in summer and 2 weeks in Christmas, because I'm knocking out summer. I'm doing whatever it takes. And so just that discipline and having a goal. The other thing that I did was I literally wrote it out. These days you got planners and all kinds of stuff. Hey fam, exactly. Yay for the late bloomers. There is nothing wrong. I want my young people to know
That's
there is
right.
nothing wrong with being a late bloomer. But when you figure out what you want to do, then go ahead and
Full,
hammer it.
full steam ahead. I love
Hammer
it.
it. Hammer it. And so I literally, I know I said that word too many times, but I can just see it like it was yesterday. I came up with a schedule of my day, my 7 day week, and that was the tune that I marched to every day. I go to class at this time, I study at this time, I have dinner at this time, I snuck in a 30-minute power nap at this time to get back up. Thank you. Yes, I did the schedule thing, and my 30-minute power nap meant that I was going to be up half the night studying. There were times when I would pencil in, sometimes they give you a little break in class. I would pencil in. I became the pro at 5-minute power naps. I would just like pause in class, find somewhere, put my head down, rejuvenate my brain, and keep it moving. It was important to work out. It was important to eat right. I was probably in the best shape of my life at that time, but it was all discipline to get to this 4 year goal. And I remember, because I love y'all, but education is a little bit of a business. And so I remember when one of my counselors pulled me in, like, oh, you're going too hard. And if you just slow down, you can do this in one more semester. I was like, they just don't understand what I'm here to do. I'm not here for all of that. I am here to get what I need and get going. And so I was like, Miss So-and-so, I was like, I need all those 11, how many credits that I'm asking to knock out this semester. And she looked at me and I looked at her, and I think she saw the determination and she gave me that go ahead, and I knocked it out. My other goal was feeling like I now knew what I was heading towards. My other goal was I did not want anything lower than a B. I really should have probably set it to nothing lower than an A, but I got majority A's and very few B's going through. And I think somebody had the nerve to try to give me a C on something. I was like, what? We got to talk about this.
Stand up. It sounds like you were a strong advocate for yourself, Stacy. Stacy, it sounds like you were a strong
Who else
advocate for
was going
yourself.
to advocate? I had a professor say to me something about, when I hadn't made up my mind about what I was doing yet, say to me something about, oh, why do you want to do medicine? You're gonna. I lie to you not. I'm just gonna quote it, because I was like, what is he smoking? But this gentleman from another mother approached me in a hallway and planted a negative word as though that word was going to bring fruit. And what he was saying is, why do you want to become a doctor? Do you know how many hours it takes? And when they go out there and work, they don't even get to see their family. Many of them lose their beauty. I lie to you not. I lie to you not. Many of them lose their beauty because they're just pressing and pushing and whatnot. And I thought to myself, how dare this man? I'm in my, late teens, early 20s, and I'm thinking, you're in your 50s, maybe 60s, and this is the message you
It's
have
the
for a
spirit.
minority student. And I was like, okay, I see. Well, I got my God, and I'm gonna be going on about this. And yes, Maya, I became my own advocate because I realized that not even all of my professors were looking out for my best interest.
Period. Period. I love that. I love that. So what I'm hearing is number one, that you believed in hard work and diligence, which is so key. Work ethics, using, whether you work or not, using those areas to help build your knowledge. You time management. I feel like every person I interview
To
says
have
that. So time management, and not just in the terms of your day, but in terms of your future years. You had a plan to be out. You're not paying another semester worth of tuition. Amen. Listen, you had a goal, and you were motivated, and no matter what anybody says that was against your goal, you became an advocate for yourself. That is so powerful, and I hope that many people take that advice. So, next question. What were some challenges? What were some challenges while you were in school?
mm. Well, I'm not going to tell you that I've said to you before, I am not, and I love this, so I'm just going to say, I am not your Albert Einstein. I am not your brilliant bookworm. So for me, because I know that I don't have a picture like memory and a photographic memory, and I don't have some people can go in and hear trigonometry and calculus 3, and they be like writing out the formula. That's not going to happen for me. So what I had to do was come to the realization that my learning style was not like that. And so for me, I had to discipline my mind to put in the work to stay up late while other people were sleeping and learn this product. I had to kick myself in my rear and send myself to study labs. I didn't sit there and gripe and moan, I don't understand this, I'm done, I'm a dropout. Nope, nope, just didn't have time. So if I have a goal, then what do I do? And the hardest thing for me sometimes was content of some of the harder courses. I'm not the strongest on, and I'll tell you, I'm not the strongest on physics and the best at microbiology. But if I understand what it's doing, its function, its purpose, how light passes through a prism and what it does, or, if I start understanding that, then I know how to deal with your quizzes, your what we're doing in the body. Because think about, even like chemotherapy, some of that has to do with light refraction and this and that, for these cells. And so I had to put in the sacrifice of time um, and effort to understand the content. And frankly, sometimes if I didn't quite understand what the Krebs cycle was trying to do, then
Shout out to the Krebs cycle.
hey, I memorized that, buddy. I was like, okay, well then if not, I'm gonna put acronyms to all of y'all, and we gonna understand what you're doing in every cycle. I was the queen of acronyms. I was like, oh, I see where we're going here. We're gonna, but it's so funny just talking with you about this. I would say that was one of my biggest challenges is just making sure, some courses was a breeze. Oh my gosh,
Breeze.
I knocked it out. But those ones that took the discipline of what was discovered and proven as scientific fact or evidence based, to really put my mind at it to grasp and humble myself and learn this information. That was I mean, when I got done after 4 years, I was sleeping so much my dad thought I was pregnant. He's like, baby girl, you just got out of college. Why are you sleeping so much? I was like, no, Dad, it's all those years of lack of sleep trying to get this information. But what happened is when I got into nursing and my profession, um, I was able to take those same skill sets, survival mode processes, disciplines with me in every room and every patient. They got the best of me. They got the
Wow.
I was giving them each and every one the best knowledge base I had. I would go back with these nursing, pharmacology books, and I was looking at nurse meds. What's the latest on medication? And so eventually I got into, you go through your med surge, blah, blah, blah. But I actually skipped med surge, ended up in a cardiac unit. And at one point, not to get anyone in legal trouble, I'm not a whistleblower, but I know there was a certain group that was having some trouble. Anyway, I got hired into a hospital under that group. And at one time, I had like 13 patients on a cardiac floor, and three of them were critical. They should have been in ICU, and I was running and titrating very critical drips that they teach you in ICU. And that is because I was like, y'all not going to, excuse me. I was like, I am not going to go through all that I went through for my degree, for my boards, to have you guys put me at risk in no.
Losing.
So I would
No,
study.
I think you need to sit there for a little bit because we're gonna get into the challenges soon. But I want you to sit there in terms of your training for nursing, right? So usually a critical unit usually requires about 4 patients per nurse. Is that correct?
Could be 4 to 6.
4 to 6. 4 to 6. Okay. So I don't think people know, like, so when you say 13, you're like basically tripling.
On
And
a day shift.
so and you don't want to put your license in jeopardy. And if you talk to many nurses, and we'll move on from there. But if you talk to many nurses, that's one of their biggest gripes. It's like, I worked so hard in school to learn this material, and and it's not responsible of you as the institution to place that much people under my care at a short period of time. I may lose all I worked for. You're like, well, I used my diligence that I learned all through college. Used my knowledge base. I want you to sit there for a second
Mhm.
and talk. Not you talk. I want to talk about how you said the knowledge base, because I think a lot of people want to skim through college, don't want to take the time to study this information, not realizing it's the knowledge base that you need to help you to become successful in the future. This is not just about getting the A. Many times it's about having a solid, strong, preparatory knowledge base. And it's hard, it's challenging. But what did you do? You said, listen, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this knowledge base. And I'm going to set my standard high, nothing less than a B, maybe not nothing less than an A. And it's through that setting of that standard high is what drives you for that knowledge base. It drives you to spend time. I tell college students all the time, no professor is going to tell you what to study. They're not going to tell you what to study. This is college. This is not the 13th grade. You are going to have to decide what is important and study hard. So that's the challenges that were. And I want to say this too, because a lot of people say, I wasn't the Einstein. I want you to understand, Einstein wasn't the Einstein that people, nobody just looks at something and gets it. And that's what some people want to, they want to be that person. Not necessarily you, but some, like, I want to not study and go to the test. Nobody, all those brilliant people, those A students you see busting out the A's, trust me, they are studying. They might not tell you they are, but they are studying in the wee hours in the morning. They usually take themselves away in a quiet place, away from you, and they are studying, okay? Everybody's working hard. Okay, so let me ask you a question. What are your challenges now? So tell me what you do now And you can even tell me how you transitioned to what you do now, and tell me your challenges.
Yeah.
This is an awesome interview, by the way. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Stacy.
so glad there's some quality information in here. Yeah, I really feel like these experiences and some of the things that I've talked about is, I don't know, they were foundational for where I ended up at this moment, because we're talking about healthcare informatics.
Right.
And so you're talking about a new wing of healthcare. So what's difficult now? Let me start with quickly with how I got here. So I did some travel nursing, and I always encourage my young adults who are getting into nursing, and after you've done at least 2 to 3 solid years, give yourself some time. I'm finding a lot now that critical thinking is very weak in our profession. No offense to the new folks coming out, it's not all new nurses. I do not believe in eating my young, because there is a saying that nurses eat their young. They're very impatient with the new, folks coming on. I love it. I'm like, come on in. Let's teach you what you need to know. But when um, I got out of travel nursing, I thought, okay, somewhere in the midst of everything, September 11th happened. It grounded me. That was a very that was a little bit of a life changer for me. I had planned to go to Alaska. I'd planned to go to Hawaii. I was already looking up dates. I was already looking up assignments. Those were my plans to go. September 11th happened, and it totally grounded me.
Wow.
And when it did, I thought, okay, Stacey, it's time to get serious about what you want to do, in your career. So instead of continuing a contract, these short-term contracts that came with bonuses and stuff, so I could establish myself and pay my bills, I decided to re-budget, calculate what it would take to join staff, because travel nursing came with a little bit more. Um, Budget how I would be able to live within a normal pay scale, with benefits and so on. And then I thought, I want to do a master's. I personally did not want to do nurse practitioner, although I have a lot of respect for our nurse practitioners. I did not want to do midwifery. I have a lot of respect for these, but it just, I had already gone through what fits and what doesn't fit for me, and I just didn't want to waste my time. So I really had this pull towards a master's of business administration. My family, at one point in time, my parents had owned their own business. And so I was working in my stepdad's shop, like at around 11, 12, because I wanted to go to the beach with my friends during summer, and they were earning their little beach money, pocket money. I was like, I want some pocket money too, because when I go to the beach, I want to get my little hot dog and whatever at the beach. So I was like, I will do cashiering. I'll do, my mom was in banking, and so she had taught me how to, do certain things with money, how to count, how to line them up, what to look for, blah, blah. So I felt like I already had a little familiarity with that. So they let me do cashiering. I'm looking back, I'm like, they were just humoring me, but they let me do cashiering, and I got my little money. So fast forward, as time went on, I was like, what is it that I want to do? And I remember thinking, I do know a little bit about business, having seen both my mom and my stepdad and my dad, because I still have a great relationship with him, run business, their work ethics, what it took. And sometimes it took all-nighters to get, stuff done for their customers. So I thought, I know this is unusual, but let me go ahead and do a master's in business administration. I was transitioning from travel nursing, so I needed something that was flexible. They didn't have what I needed at UCF, at the time that I was looking, because the schedule was so rigid for days. And I was like, no, this is me paying my bills. And I was scared of University of Phoenix, frankly, because ever since I was a kid, I would see these ads and I'm like, not a real school, but then after a while, I researched them thoroughly. This is the thing is whatever program you're in, research the accreditation of these schools, of who supports them. I've known people who went and did a whole law degree and found out afterwards that their school was not even accredited. I mean, so I did research and found out that the Nursing Association accepted University of Phoenix degrees and so on. And so the MBA was one of them that was accepted. And so I pursued that. I got a lot of really great experiences there. I learned teamwork, which is still in corporate America to this day. It's like they wouldn't let you do all your work yourself, so I learned teamwork. I
Mhm.
learned what was going on out there. In business, we had real people come in who taught us from their profession, so I did that. And I thought, okay, now that I've made this investment and I have a little bit of a loan, I had a plan to pay off the loan, but I decided, oh, now, and someone put a bug in my ear and said, well, now you have to use your investment in yourself. So
Mm.
I got into utilization management. Long and short, this is with the insurances, assessing a patient's stay at the hospital to pay the bill. And that's a big deal. I was brought into many corporate meetings with white lights, asking for how reviews were going, because this stuff helps to produce revenue that pays the hospitals all around. And so I learned a little bit of the corporate demands on that. In that role, I realized that the government was heading towards healthcare reform. This was not even political. It wasn't Obamacare. This was happening whether you were Democrat in power, Republican in power. It was already coming down the pipeline. Health reform was coming. It just so happened to have been produced during Obama's reign. And then the other thing they were starting to do is to look at having more EMRs and having hospitals transition to an electronic medical record by a deadline, because they had done research to prove that there was less med errors,
Mistakes.
right? Because of the handwriting of physicians, and people were misinterpreting handwriting. They found research that proved that there were med errors. I lay all of that foundation to say, because I stepped out and took a risk to try something new and ended up in this field of utilization and having to keep up with insurance standards and the government standards for healthcare each year, discovered that there is going to be a deadline for electronic medical record. And I thought, I probably want to look into getting into that field. And so,
Ooh, ooh, hold on. So this is so key. This is so key right here. So you furthered your education. You made an investment in yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then you decide to use that investment. You didn't just say, I'm investing this just to have the master's, but you're actually now going to utilize it. That's so important. Don't just get a master's just so you can say you have a master's, but make sure you utilize it. Okay. Number one. Then what I'm hearing you say is you investigated the trends of the future. Woo! You investigated the trends of the future based on the information you've learned in your new position. And you saw that in the future, this is going to be a very important field. I might need to place myself, use my skill set to place myself in that place. And I think students need to do that all the time. Yes, you need to love what you do, but some professions are going obsolete. And so you're going to have to look and see what the need is and place your gifts in the midst of that need. That's what I'm hearing. So you are a healthcare informaticist, right? So healthcare informatics. And I'm hearing you say it has to do with taking all the information that insurance and the hospital has and making sure that it's known for people to see, so there's less error? Is that what it is? Like, what is it? Like,
It's right. So, we used to have these internal running jokes about reading physician handwriting.
yeah.
It was just a running joke. But as time went on, the government had apparently done research on these because they don't like nosocomial, they don't like hospital infections that have
Mhm.
potential dangerous side effects. And they had also done research on med errors. Why would we have med errors? And they were finding that a lot of folks did not interpret the handwriting of a provider correctly. If a provider, writes a 5 for 50 milligrams of something, and this is the top slash of the 5, and now it looks like, oh, was this a 2? Now you're giving
Mhm.
20 milligrams instead of 50, and what took place in the patient's system after that. So they got to the place where they justified that it was better to have an electronic medical record system, and all hospitals had to decide what system they were going to use. Now they had it in spotty ways. I would even say probably back in the 80s, 90s. I came out of nursing in the 90s. But they had some really archaic system that we were using to, kind of like an elaborate database to enter vitals, to type in, what a blood
Mhm.
pressure was or something like this. And then they started trying to give us these little handheld devices to put that information in. So they were kind of, there was moving here and there, but the scope that the government brought the United States healthcare to was that every acute facility had to adopt an EMR. So we have some vendors for EMRs out there, electronic medical record system for the hospital setting. We don't have a vast amount. I think two of the most popular ones are Cerner or Epic, and there are more, McKesson and so on. Um, but this was coming down the tube through CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid.
And so this is technology. These are technology companies that manage all of the data coming from everybody who goes to the hospital.
Correct. And so this is now based on nurse documentation entry, nutritionists, therapists, physicians, pharmacy, you name it. As a matter of fact, um, there it's not just, and I like the fact that it's moving from clinical and physical, or excuse me, physician or nursing informatics to healthcare informatics, because they have found such value in having a seasoned pharmacist on the informatics team to, clarify meds and what the process would be, schedule two meds, narcotics and so on, and to help iron out what a process would be. So we've got nurses in informatics. We've got some nurses who are in physician or provider informatics that support the providers like we do with using the EMR, training them on the EMR, troubleshooting the EMR. And that's where we start pulling from our clinical experience. We've got respiratory therapists and other clinicians that are moving into the informatics realm. So it's so funny. We're kind of layered. We have folks who have gone to, let's say, DeVry or some school that know how to build a database, how to program, how to use the computer skills in the hospital setting or the office setting. But then here we come, the clinical folks with the know-how, the skills, with patient safety still a why, still a priority. And now we're lending that to the informatics realm to continue to support patient safety by using the computer. So, the computer should not hamper a patient getting the care they need. A computer should not substitute critical conversation between a doctor and a nurse about a patient. And then it brings in the importance of HIPAA, HIPAA, which has to do with health information protection. So We have to be careful that we're not bringing patient information home, printing it out and dropping it on the table, and all the kids, everybody's reading about this patient. It really became its own profession, and now seeing healthcare informatics having a degree, I'm actually pretty proud of that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So wait. But you didn't really tell. So you told me what it is. What's so hard about it? And then tell me what you like about it. Hey, Tosin. I think Tosin is a physician who is in data management, clinical informatics, I think. I don't
Excellent.
remember. Tosin, what do you do again? I know you're a physician. I can't remember though. I think you meld it all together in tech. Yeah, yeah. Good to see you.
All right, Dr. Toastman, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. What are your challenges and what do you like about what you do?
So I think our challenges are, I love the freshness of it, but we have to be careful because at the end of the day, we're clinicians. So our challenges will continue to be making sure that patient data is protected. Our challenges will be ensuring that that orders cross over correctly to who needs them, because behind the scenes, physician such as Dr. Tosin can put in an order. We want to make sure nursing gets their task off of that order to act upon it timely. We want to make sure the lab gets that order so they can draw labs and result them timely for the provider to make a critical decision. And oh my goodness, we have a patient who's diabetic or a cardiac patient. They need the dietary people to get the correct order with the right amount of carbs, sodium. Um,
Wow.
it gets, yeah.
Wow.
So it's very, and of course, needless to say, thank you, getting thumbs up here. Needless to say, we want to make sure if a patient needs a critical med, that it crosses over correctly to pharmacy to send the right med. If your doctor's ordering, I don't, I've got to be careful of pulling out names because you have, trade names, generic names, and, but if your doctor has ordered a certain critical med with a certain constitution, right, Dr. Maya? Want to make sure that order crosses over correctly. So you have this med coming in 250 milligrams of fluid, milliliters of fluid, and not 1,000,
Right.
because it runs at a different rate. So we can't get sleepy because we're at the computer. So I like to remind my computer friends who are in informatics or IT that yes, it may be that you want to sit at your desk and remote into a device and try to fix it remotely. But I'm like, guys, we're still in a
At
hospital setting.
the
We're
hospital.
still in a healthcare. Patients are waiting. You may have to get on up and go over to that unit, troubleshoot to see what's going on with that device. We need to be sure the printer is working. We need to be sure the scanner is working. And if we have local troubleshooting not working, we need you there to fix the device piece so that, stuff can go. So we want to, I think my biggest, if I had a message for all of informatics anywhere, is that remember that at the end of the day, we are in the healthcare setting, and people's loved ones
Lives.
sitting on the other side of this.
Yeah.
Different priority to
It's
make,
not just data.
not
It's
just
not just information. This information needs to be timely, quick, troubleshooted, moved because somebody's life is in the balance. And that could be pretty scary. That could be very challenging, And wow, that's
Mhm. Think about, I won't keep it too long, but you've got me excited. Think about a couple of things that have happened lately. Just two things I can think about. During summer, lake waters get warm. And so you might have kids come home to visit. It's Florida. They may be coming down to visit grandma, grandpa. They jump in the lake in the backyard. Hopefully the gators don't get them. But if they come out and they start having headaches or they start having fevers or whatever, now we're also saying, hey, when we check you out in the system, we're putting in have they been do they, have they been in a warm lake water recently to check for amoebas,
Amoeba. Yep.
because you
That
want to
that's
do that.
biology. That's knowing biology right there.
That's right. And so that input of data triggers the lab to check for this specimen, right? And then we can determine, oh, and so we have caught a couple because they're life threatening. And we have caught a couple and intervened timely because some lab tech took the time to be sure and rule that out. And then think about COVID, you know, as patients were coming in. I mean, God bless those who are on the front line, physicians, clinicians, environmental, everybody. But as patients were coming into the emergency room, they had to test them and get results in a time we didn't even have a proper test. So we
Right.
knew how to treat. So, and then, put them on isolation and all of this communication through the EMR. So it's grown and rather interesting, I would say, and still, yeah, it's still exciting, Dr. Tosin. But yeah, and I like what, I don't know if you're going to handle what they've shared about the experience they had, but
Yeah, he says that from my experience, everything she said, and even proper claims processing, inclusion of standards like HL7, I don't know what that is, but that the
yeah,
CDC,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Billing charges. I mean, there's so much to it. But I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
just say,
yeah.
whoever is getting into the field or considering getting into the field, this is not a way to stop lifting patients or stop running down the halls with beds to the ICU. This is truly a new discipline that
The
requires
diligent,
critical thinking.
critical thinking and diligence still. Critical thinking and diligence still. Okay, so what do you love about it?
Well, I think for informatics, I like the fact that it hasn't leveled off yet. It's still a bit cutting edge. We
Okay.
are moving into optimization of informatics. Period. I think many facilities have done their onboarding. They met the deadlines that the government laid out, and now, and maybe we're switching. Okay, maybe some liked this. Brand or this vendor, and now someone else wants to switch to this other vendor. And one of the things that we're now looking at is how to maybe help the patient have a single chart that you can follow through the community care back to the acute setting. It's a lot of optimization of what can be done. But here's and I love it. I do think it's still exciting. Recently got my accreditation in one of the particular vendors. They have a course that you do, and so I took that. But I would say that we still, I don't know, when I think about ethical issues that you consider, for example, you know, I still have a little concern about data mining of
Mhm,
information, but
mhm.
there are also really high level security sciences now that protect patient information, so they're not held at ransom by our techie guys out there who know how to break a system. So
Mhm.
I like the fact that we still have um, like a new frontier that's challenging us out there in the technical world, technology world mixed in with the science of caring for a human body. That is
It is
amazing,
it's tech with healthcare mixed together.
exciting, fun.
Fun. But that's the thing about tech. So everybody who I interviewed with that are IT professionals, that thing shifts like every year. There's a it's new, so you have to keep on task. So this concept of diligence and critical thinking must continue. So make sure that when you're doing it in college, you're doing nursing in college or whatever. What I'm hearing, Stacy, that any person in healthcare can join this field, right? So whatever you're doing in college, make sure you're diligent. Make sure you're doing a lot of high level critical thinking because it will continue all throughout your profession. Because nursing is a science. Okay, Rochelle, you got it.
Michelle, I think we've proven.
I don't know about
We've
prove it, but
proven
I love my friends. I love my friends, so I'm gonna give it to y'all. I am the phenomenal STEMist.
You are.
And so is she right here. Thank you so much, Stacy, for this
Oh, my
beautiful and
pleasure.
wonderful interview.
Pleasure. So glad. Thank you. And really thanks also to Dr. Tosa for being on and helping us confirm some of the information. I would say I really just want to plug this because I love young people and I love the potential they have. If only they knew how they have time in their hands and
Yeah.
opportunity. Let me tell you, if you are good at building programs, softwares, apps, there are a lot of companies including Amazon, that's now looking at how to get into the health market. Now, I'll tell you this, I came out a little bit old school, and I really would like healthcare to just be healthcare. Corporate America has stepped in, technology has stepped in, but there are a lot of folks who are now building applications to improve either interoperability or the transmission of some kind of information to cross over. I mean, for example, we have EKGs that were on EKG monitor, EKG devices, and now folks have gone to do homework to see how to get EKGs to cross over in the system. So be creative, and who knows, if you create an app that could help with patient safety, market it and see what happens. Yeah, space and technology is the final frontier. No, I'm kidding.
It's the future, and we're just on the surface.
We're just beginning. Just
Yeah, yeah,
beginning.
yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
even talked about artificial intelligence. I'm going to
Yeah,
stop.
and that is on a it's the future, and young people find out what don't go based on what your parents did in the past. Don't copy what your parents did in the past. You need to look to what's powerful for the future and make sure you take your skill set and place yourself in that. That's the only wisdom that I can give you, and that's what I hear Stacy saying the same. Thank you so much, Stacy. Thanks, Tosin, for joining. Good to see you. Thank you, Rochelle. As usual, you're always here. Appreciate it. Good night, everybody. Have a great holiday. Thanks once again, Stace. Really, really appreciate it. Just stay
My
on with me.
pleasure, my honor. Thank you, Dr. Byfield.
Oh, what Tosin says that's so key right here. Come on, y'all.
Yes, come,
Come
come.
on.
The
Come on in
water's
the room.
fine.
Come on in the room. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good evening.